Hi, YouTube. I hope you're doing good. I'm having a pretty good day. It's cold and gloomy and wet, but it's nice. It was pretty cool yesterday. I was reading a post online and about God being with us, and it was just kind of cool because I was feeling a little down in the dumps, and a friend had shared this post. And all of a sudden, when I'm reading this post, um, the sunlight starts shining through my window and just keeps getting stronger. So, just little happy coincidences in my life. So, kind of neat. So, I was watching a woman, making sourdough starter that they use dates to collect the yeast out of the air, the natural yeast. I've got a starter that's in March it'll be 10 years old. So and I freeze it, and you can take it out of the freezer and mix it with water and flour after it thaws, and then keep some in the freezer and just keep it like that, and have yeast to make bread anytime you want. There's a lot of people that had tried to make it when we had this quarantine junk going on the last couple years, and they couldn't find any in their stores, and I don't have to worry about that. So, but if we don't have any wheat coming up here in the future, having a starter isn't going to matter if you have yeast or not. So then I was thinking about second sight. Do you ever get what some people would call intuition or uh, insight or visions of something that happens in your life, but you knew it was going to happen? Like those times when the phone rings and you just knew the phone was going to ring, you know. And then I was thinking about in the ether how Satan can try and stop us from receiving our second sight, which is a gift of God, from God, to communicate with each other. That's why I say there's some of us out here that will be communicating even if they cut off the internet, because we know we can hear each other think, you know. I mean, it's not as pleasant as to be able to, I'm not a big one at talking on the phone, but if I wanted to, it's nice. So, yeah. And it's kind of hard to run a business or do things in the world without a phone. So, but yeah, I was just thinking about that. And here's something. It might lead to a lawsuit. Doug's talking to a neighbor of ours right now, and his brother is an attorney. Well, Doug had went in to get his prescriptions this morning, and he said they were like, oh, Gen Z or whatever at the counter, like 18-year-olds, or there was a couple of them. And she said, sir, you have to put your mask on. And he said, I'm not putting my mask on. And she tried to insist that it was a law. And he told her it is not a law, it is a mandate. And she had his credit card in her hand. And she said, you have to get out of here. And he said, I'm not going anywhere. And she threw the credit card at him, and it landed on the floor. And so Doug, being Doug, um, told her what to do with herself, and said, she said, you'll have to talk to my manager on Monday. And he said, this is going to be a lawsuit. So he's talking to a friend about getting his brother to represent him, see if he wants to do that. I don't think a person would even need an attorney to make even a lawsuit with this non laws. I mean, this is, he said, my heart already hurts and I need my medicine. I'm out of my medicine. And so what happens? He said, I'm already upset. So what happens if somebody actually dies? He asked her, because you're pushing this as a law and it's not any kind of a rule. A mandate is not even a requirement, it's a suggestion, you know. So, and that's you know, the a public facility like a pharmacy. I mean, who's going to kick somebody out of a pharmacy, you know? I think I could have thought of other ways to maybe handle that, you know? I don't know. Because he didn't want to leave her alone with his credit card. Well, who could blame him, you know? So, I don't know. And then they want everybody to be electronic and just have like a chip in her hand or a quantum dot die mark that we can purchase things with. I mean, how could a person ever even trust that? I mean, just look what happens when you do a Windows download and then your computer goes wacky. You know, that happens. It used to happen quite often, maybe not as much as it used to do. But you know what I mean? You put a new program on your computer and then it decides not to do what it's supposed to do. You know, I don't think that's a very good idea. That's just my outlook on that. So, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's all just weird, you know. Yeah. Uh, I went out a little bit today, but it is chilly. It just almost too much, you know. That one cat I have, Yeti, he's feeling better now, and I have wormed him twice since he's been here. Um, I think he's probably about 10 months old, but and he's been around here, I think, going on like about 5 months, 6 for sure. But he has had diarrhea. It's getting better now, but ever since I met him, and he doesn't want anybody near him, and but kinda he does, and I started wondering yesterday if somebody might have kicked him or injured him somehow. I mean, I don't know. It could be just that the worms were so severe with him, they took what they call a stronghold, and I'm battling to make him healthy right now. He's gaining weight. It's just that he has his bowels are leaking, and he did make a mess in the kitty house, and I cleaned it up and put new rug down for him where he lays, and um till I build kitty nests, I've got different things in there for them to lay on. And like I say, he's gaining weight and he's looking a little better, but he still has the leaky ball or leaky gut syndrome in a kitty. I don't know what you would call it, but um I might have to do some investigating what more I can do for him. Like I said, he is looking better, but I don't want him to have to be stuck inside like in sub-zero weather and not be able to get outside to relieve himself. He just barely made it out the door. It was on a rubber mat that I had there. And so I cleaned it up for him this morning. But yeah, I have been a little concerned about that. So, yeah. So, anyway. So, what do you think about extra sensory perceptions or telepathy or intuition, insight, um, or even remote viewing or what it, well, the insight, well, or visions, or like I say, which would be, what would they call that? When you see something in the future, would be, um, well, you know what I mean. I can't think of the actual term of what it is, but that's another way. It's not so much that Satan has those abilities or anything, because human beings do. It's that he's in the ether and can hear you think as things are going on. So, to be able to foresee something, and these people who call themselves prophets, are they actually a prophet, like a gift from God, or are they a prophet in their wallet? What kind of profit and what do they profit from? Just some thoughts of what's going on in my mind. You know, a lot of people think they prophesy, you know. I think a real prophet, well, probably will profit from not only like immediately with gifts, but in the future, if it's from God, you're going to profit just by walking in the Word, just by doing what He tells us to do or tells me to do. I have faith that, He's, well, the reward for me is not having to live around hell. You know, that to me would be a major profit. Just that alone, you know, that's good. That's a profit, you know. I don't think there's enough people teaching out there that our souls never die. They do say, well, we're moving on to heaven and whatever, but what if people aren't, you know? What if you just aren't? Because heaven's coming down to earth. That's the new Jerusalem, you know. I think some people are going to go home to live with the Father, in death. Um, or like the second death has no sting, but your soul will be carried on home, you know, from its original place of existing. I think that's true for some. I think some souls are younger than others. They talk about old souls, and it's just like my oldest son. I used to look in his eyes and think, dang, kid, you just are an old looking dude. And he was, even as a little baby, just, yeah. Been a little worried about him too, because it froze here last night and it snowed yesterday, and it's supposed to snow again today. And he lives out west and further west, about 1,000 miles, and I really have no idea if he's okay or not. It's hard. It is. I mean, I probably think about my sons at least once a day, you know. So, yeah, it's difficult. When they both had left to go to live with their dad, I really had, it was beyond empty nest because they were in danger. I almost really went crazy. I almost had a nervous breakdown, you know. So, anyway, I finally did get it together, but it was really difficult. And I know without God, I wouldn't have made it. There's no way. God knows what I would have done or what would have happened, you know. There's a long story to that, too. I'll tell you about it sometime. Today's not the day. I don't want to get too depressed talking about terrible things, you know. So. There's enough terrible stuff in the world right now. But yeah. So if you're ever interested in making a sourdough starter, I can write it in a recipe and put it in a video and tell you all about it if anybody's interested in that type of thing. You know, that's the kind of witchcraft I do as far as alchemy. I'm into making natural gases in bread dough and things like that, or tinctures or um, salves or shampoos or natural things that I learned how to use herbs and things around um, wild edibles and that type of thing, so I can survive doing all that type of thing if I need to. That's the best alchemy in the world, is to understand what God put on this planet for us to use and how to use it, identifying the plants around your area where you live and what's edible. And don't forget, every bit of a pine tree is edible, and it's higher in vitamin C. If you take the needles, you would think it would taste piney or like a pine tree. It tastes nutty if you take, well, especially a Scotch pine, but you can make tea out of any of the needles, and it's really good for you, and it tastes pretty good. I don't know how good it is for me being allergic to wood, and I've done that, and it seemed to kind of hurt my stomach. And it's the same, well, but then I have like roses and wild strawberries and wild raspberries. You can dry all those leaves. You can use them in salad, and the same with violets. You can eat all parts of that flower. You can make teas out of it. You can make salves out of it. All kinds of things. Just learning what's in your environment. Like we have Russian olives. If in the future I had nothing to cook with some fish, say for instance, or whatever, they're small and they have pits, but the vegetable of the olive itself in the fall would be able to mash them up and actually have something that has like amino acids and vitamin E and some C and B12s and things and fiber that we would need. And, you know, dandelions, some people call like make a wish type of things. Those are dandelions. Every bit of the flower and the stem, everything can be cooked and eaten raw or cooked. You can make dandelion tea. If you make the greens, a good thing to do is to cook them 3 times and get rid of the water. Like put fresh water, boil it again. Put fresh water, boil it again 3 times, and then drain it, and then you can eat them because they are a little astringent. I mean, you can eat them, just boil them 1 time, or even fry them in a pan like with pine nuts, like you would spinach, and eat it like that. But they're a little rough on your system, and if it'd be good, let's just say if you were constipated, it'd be a good thing to eat. So you have to be careful with certain things that you're eating and making if it's wild. So, yeah. I studied a lot of that because, well, I was a mom with 2 sons, and we always were short on money. So whatever I could do, like collect mushrooms or go fishing or whatever I needed to do to make our world go around. So it's like one post I saw, this woman said her father was embarrassed because he was a janitor and not to tell any of her friends. Well, she posted it online, and all kinds of people were loving that post. And yeah, I've been a janitor. I started working at a school. Um, well, the first one in the same school district, I worked in as a lunch lady with elementary kids. That was fun. And then at night, and that was part time. And then at night, I had part time janitorial in the junior high school. And then later in the years, for the same school system, I became a lunch lady at the high school and worked there for almost 6 years. And then I went over to, in the same school system, to be a paraprofessional working with handicapped kids, emotionally um, um, deviants, um, as a paraprofessional, helping them in the schoolroom and that type of thing. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, the most fun though was the little ones. It really was funny. You'd hand them a tray, and like you go to put a scoop of potatoes or something, you'd have to hold their tray for them and with them, and you got it, and they're like, yeah, and they're just tiny, and they're carrying this tray back to their seat, and I'm just praying for them, like, don't drop it, don't drop it, you know? But it was funny. That was a little difficult because my youngest son was there too, and he was a jealous bugger, or still is. And so he had I got bunches of dirty looks for smiling at little kids. you know, I I still live around jealousy. I just can't get away from it. Yeah. Well, in my life, if somebody pushes something on me and they know it's going to hurt me and it's intentional, then it's not jealousy. It might have a bit of that really pissed me off type of feeling, but I'll just let it go. It's like, if you want to play like that with my feelings, well, then I don't need you. That's how I feel about that. I don't play well like that at all. I don't play at all like that. I don't do that to people, and I wouldn't. I'm very aware of what I bring into other people's lives and why I would, you know. So if somebody's doing something like that to you, just be aware of it. They're not caring about you as much as jealousy is not. I mean, it can be a part of a relationship, like a natural part, but that's usually caused by other people interfering in your relationship. It shouldn't have anything to do with you and your spouse or you and your friend. You know, people don't typically do things to other people that they know would just kind of bum them out. It's like, yeah. Or they'd prepare them for it. It'd be like, well, like if I brought a friend over that another friend didn't like or something, it'd be like, I know you guys don't really like each other, but you could just kind of like get along for me, you know? I had one friend pull a friend off one of my bikes. Um, I had got my new bike and had my old one, and we were all riding around in my driveway. And she went up there and ganked her off the bike. It's like, that was bad. I'm like, well, I really don't want to see you for a really long time. And I didn't see her for a really long time. But the other girl wasn't able to come over to my house after that for a very long time either because of that. That was a bummer. So, yeah, I think we all have lived through it, and we know that it's not something that we want inside ourselves, but children do that. Adults shouldn't, you know. That's just my outlook on it. I mean, if people can't get in like a big room of people and socialize and get along with it. I mean, in an ideal world, there wouldn't be lustful minds and it wouldn't be like Sodom and Gomorrah when you go out in public. It would be like just pleasant to be around a whole group of people. Wouldn't that be amazing if there was no dirty stuff going on like that? To me, I would be amazed. I've had that a few times in my life, but not very many, you know. I usually when you go out, if you have to tolerate something that isn't in you and you have to sit and watch something that isn't in you, what enjoyment is there? You know, to me there isn't any. It's like I don't watch porn. I had an old dirty old man give me some porn one time in my life, and another dirty old man turned some on in front of me, but I have never done that on my own. And that's how I feel when I have these things happen to me. I feel like I am being accosted, you know. The whole world's accosting me. It's going to accost them too. It's going to cost them a whole big bunch if they don't knock this shit off. It's sickening. So, it really is. I know a lot of people can't stand me because they can hear me thinking, I know they have a dirty mind and I don't, and they don't like me for it, you know? And I'm a little hard to be around. Well, they're very hard to be around, so we pretty much agree on that, you know. So, ooh, I got a really good supper planned tonight. We're gonna have burritos with lots of lettuce on there and some cheddar cheese, and I don't know about sour cream. I might have one with or one without. I don't know. I have big shells and little shells, so I'm deciding which ones I want to use. Maybe one of each. I don't know. I like the smaller ones though. Doug usually likes like monster burritos, you know. And then I'm gonna take yogurt and blueberries and put a little bit of granola on top, and that's going to be some dessert because I need to get some acidophilus in me. Um, I should make some yogurt. I've done that before, but I had Doug pick some up so it'd just be easier. But yeah, I got to look into doing that again. It's really easy. You can use yogurt and you can make like a sourdough starter, like a starter with the yogurt. But there's a way you can do it by using stems of chili peppers. And you don't use the whole chili, you just put in a cup with some milk. You just put the stems of the chili peppers in there and let them set like overnight. And then when you boil your milk to make your yogurt, it's like cheese making. You put that starter in there and then cover it for, I think it was 12 hours. You have to keep it a relatively same temperature of uh well, like room temperature. So if you start out where it was kind of boiling, then I had taken the pot that I made it in and put it in my cooler and covered it up and just kept it and you keep it there like 12 hours and the next day you have yogurt, and I had a whole bunch, and then I just keep making it until we kind of got sick of it for a long time. But it's really good, and if you strain it and you can make Greek yogurt, it's higher in protein and then it's thicker too. But that was thick, like regular yogurt, maybe even a little thicker than store bought. But it was pretty good. So, but yeah, tell me if you want any more information on making any sourdough starter or anything. It's just flour and water, and it's pretty easy to start. And a lot of people will use like potatoes or dates or and put sugar in there, which to me is a big no-no because it collects bad bacteria and that's the last thing you want. You don't want it molding or anything like that. So if you just use flour and water, you can then old timers will put like a pinch of salt in there to keep the bad bacteria out if they were keeping it on their counter like for say like 4 to 10 days or whatever, but that's not even really necessary. You can start your starter within a couple days and keep it in your refrigerator for like a week and bake with it and then start freezing it after that and take it out and feed it and then it gets better every day. Well, I actually just described the process. It's always for your starter, the same amount of water to the same amount of flour, and that's how you start it. And then you feed it with the flour or water, but never any sugars or anything else because of the bacteria. So that type. So there's some people that do it like I do, and some people do it the other way. And the other way creates bad bacteria that we don't want in us. So I'm doing it the way I think is better for us physically. But that has acidophilus in it. And so do pickles and anything usually that's pickled or um, aged like that, and sauerkraut, those type of things are all really good for us if you can have cabbage, which I'm not supposed to, but I do like it. So, okay, everybody, thank you for joining me. I hope your weekend's going wonderful. Mine's pretty darn good, not bad. But the day isn't over. No. Anyway, peace and love.